I've been surfing ever since I can remember. It's just hard to imagine any part of my life when I wasn't surfing.
Take me under the water, the water.
Our goal on this movie was to really put people on that surfboard and put them in the water, in those waves.
And that had never been done before.
In order to attain that level of realism, the Surf's Up crew needed to become wave experts, which meant a research expedition to Malibu Beach.
It would be pretty sad to make a surf movie that was only made in Culver City, you know? We had to go to the beach at least one day.
We took our whole crew that was on the show at the time, and all 100 or 150 of us went to the beach and spent a day hanging out with each other and trying to learn how to surf.
Just the act of getting out into the wave, into the liner, for most of us who spend most of their days, you know, sitting at a desk and looking at pictures, is so incredibly hard that that by the time you get out beyond the wave, you're just glad that you didn't die on the way out.
Well, you certainly empathize with the characters, you know, Cody wiping out or any character that wipes out.
I got pummeled, you know. Had a couple pitchers of salt water, and I'm still digesting.
I kind of got, you know, my backside handed to me a little bit.
I stood up for a whole half second. It was awesome.
I learned that from surfing that I can't surf. And that I shouldn't be near the water at all because I could drown, I learned.
Rob Machado was there that day, and he went out in the water and made everybody look like what they were, which is amateurs.
You really got to stay focused on what you're out there to do and not be influenced by the other guys.
It was incredibly helpful to experience it firsthand, you know, to feel what it is like to, you know, get on a surfboard, you know, catch a wave.
I learned that, you know, you can kind of see how the water breaks a little bit. You can see how the waves are breaking. It's changed the way I look at waves.
It was helpful for everyone.
In most computer animation, repeated motion, like waves, is created in a simulation where technicians program all the parameters, such as ocean depth, wave height, and wave speed, into the computer. And then the computer simulates the appropriate motion.
In the case of the waves, we couldn't really do that. We had to have absolute control over every aspect.
We knew we wanted to be on the wave with Cody. We wanted to experience the visceral experience of riding a wave, surfing a wave. So there was a level of realism to that that was just required, because if it was too cartoony or too stylized, it wouldn't have felt like you were riding a wave.
We wanted to have a tone to them, you know, whether it's playful or dangerous.
That wave could envelop you and basically gobble you up. We have a scene in the movie where Cody is a touch more optimistic about the wave than he should be, flies over the top and is sucked down into the reef. And you don't just do that by simulating it. You have to believe it. And that comes with an extra level of poetry of motion.
By designing a system where we could animate them and have animators give them a bit of a characterization, you know, then we had that control.
Technical director Eric Miller had to build a rig, which is the tool the animators would use to build their waves in the computer. A rig is like an electronic puppet. The animators, it's puppet masters.
I love it. So for the wave, there were these little controls. They were kind of like rings. And these ring controls could rotate, and as they rotated, the wave starts to take its form. And so that was kind of the interface to how the animators would basically control the shape and the speed and the variations of the different waves.
The wave has been built from the ground up, or from the ocean floor up, you know, so to speak. The riggers have been amazing to create this basically character that we can animate, that layout can animate, that effects can work with. So it's a character that flows over 3 departments.
Once the rig was built, the wave moved into layout.
In layout is where the basic motion of the wave is defined. We were very fortuitous to have an expert surfer in the layout department.
Wave wizard, wave guru, wave freak, wave idiot. And this is a nice sequence called Cody and Z surfs. And so I have drawings to kind of represent what the directors are thinking. And so I take those drawings now and I start to build a shot with it. I'm rarely satisfied. I want it to be perfect.
What better way to make the perfect wave than to have a champion surfer ride it for you?
Kelly Slater came into our screening room and we had a bunch of work in progress waves that we were testing with.
How you guys doing?
All right. And he drew over our waves and was talking about where the shape needed to be a little bit different and where the surface film actually needed to suck a little faster, a little bit slower.
It was like drawing the shapes of the slope of where the wave itself starts to square off and where it goes vertical.
I couldn't go and get on the computer and actually animate a wave properly, but I can tell you where it needs to change, and the animator might not know exactly where it needs to change, and so it's a whole bunch of people putting in their 2 cents at the right times and right places to make something work.
The waves now moved into animation, where both the surfer and surfboard had to paddle out, get up, and ride.
Animating surfers on a wave is just tricky by its nature.
My first step is to start working with the surfboard, and I do a general path going down the wave, make sure we got the right motion and the right emotion for the shot. Then we get Cody in there and we start blocking out his moves, make sure his motion matches the moves that we want him to do on the surfboard.
I think the biggest challenge is to get it right, to just get the physics to work, to get the feeling of being on an unstable surface, to get that to feel true, but still have some caricature to it so that it feels like a penguin, so that it feels fun and exciting.
Now that the wave, the surfboard, and the surfers are animated, the effects department takes over.
We apply white water, lip spray, foam, foam balls. For the surfing effects, we do board spray, we do board wake, we do board spray foam, we do board wake foam, we do splashes. So white water is the explosion of aerated water when the lip of the wave crashes and hits the trough of the wave. And what we refer to as lip spray is the water that rips off of the lip as the lip is coming over and crashing.
Nice, that's it.
This explosion backward in the tube that then goes and wraps around, we actually refer to as the foam ball. And that foam gets carried up to the top of the tube, and then there's this sort of rain or cascade of particles that fall down. And so that whole kind of washing machine effect that happens inside a tube.
With all those effects added to the waves, it's time for the finishing touch, lighting, which both lights and puts final color on the shot. The final look and color of the waves were actually determined nearly 3 years ago in the early stages of pre-production by the Visual Development Department at Sony Pictures Animation. Production designer Paul Lesane created a color palette for the entire film and applied that color scheme to waves that were designed by a team of artists led by Visual Development 3D supervisor Todd Pilger.
What exactly do we want the color of these waves to be? The Antarctic waves, we wanted to, first of all, look cold, a little bit more menacing.
The water's darker. You can't see through it like you can in the island. It doesn't have that beautiful turquoise look.
Of course, when you get to Penghu, you've got this glorious water that could be in Hawaii or Tahiti. You've got all this time where you can see into it. You imagine if you were to go scuba diving, you could see for 50 or 80 feet, which is completely opposite from where we were down in Shiverpool. And the lighters actually are the ones who settle on the color of the wave, make sure the sun's in the right position, make sure the character can still be read on this wave, and also make it look like it was photographed. Because our movie being a documentary, every shot has to look like it was actually, photographed by a camera. Of course, it's not photorealistic, but it is a stylized photograph look of the movie.
Even surfers that have seen the footage are astounded by what they see, and it puts them back in the water.
The animation that we've seen so far has been incredible. There was times when I looked at a wave and went, wow, that's real.
They wanted to give it the same kind of thrill that you get when you're surfing. And being a surfer myself, I was thrilled.
It's very tangible. You feel like you can go, I mean, it looks like waves.
Everybody has said, we want to go there. Wherever this is, this would be a nice place to vacation.
I'm really, really proud of everybody on the film and proud of what we've been able to put on the screen for our waves.
I am totally stoked.
Every time we see one of the waves finished, our minds are blown.
That impact, that beauty, not only, frankly, of the wave itself, as you're asking me about the technical elements of the wave, but the whole composition, the world, the sense of being able to reach into that screen almost with your hands and touch that water. You could almost feel it to that extent.